Hi there guys, my name is Jacob and welcome back to the channel. Now, about a month ago, I brought to your guys' attention a company called Solax Energy, and that was because around the same time, Optimisers, who are my energy company, they announced that they were reducing their solar export rates. And if you're somebody like myself who's got solar panels and a battery and does export quite a bit of energy to the grid, this was something that has quite a big impact on my monthly figures. Obviously, solar panels are great for generating energy and using it in the home to obviously reduce your energy bills. But when you're someone like me who generates far more than they actually need, you want a way of sending that energy to the grid and getting paid a decent amount for it. Now, of course, Octopus still do pay 12 pence per kilowatt hour. So it's not a particularly bad rate. However, you want to do everything you can to maximise what you can get for every kilowatt hour that you send to the grid. And that is where Solax Energy come in. Now, as I said, I only heard about this company about 5 or 6 weeks ago. And as soon as I found out about it, I let you guys know by posting a video on my channel. But at the time, I hadn't used them myself. So as much as I could recommend them, I couldn't give a personal experience. So that is exactly what today's video is about. I've been using them now for about 5 weeks and I've managed to run 4 sessions with them. And I'm going to talk about 3 sessions today that took place in March because I haven't got the results of the 4th one yet, which only took place yesterday. But basically, let me just give you a rundown of what you need to do for Solax to be a part of it. The way it works is basically you sign up with Solax, and just for a bit of a heads up, I've got a link in the description box of this video. If you sign up with my link, you'll get a £25 bonus for signing up with it, so it's worth doing. Now, when you sign up to Solax, the way it works is basically you give them permission to access your battery. And the reason why you give them permission to do that is because they want to pay you £1 per kilowatt hour that you export to the grid when the grid needs it most. And that is the kind of reason why this is all happening. When the grid is under strain and it needs extra energy, whether that be at peak times between the hours of 4 till 7, or most recently they've been doing it in the morning between the hours of about 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. Those are the kind of points of the day where the grid comes under the most strain. So Solax will then come in, ask you permission to export your battery during those hours, and they pay you a very nice rate for it. Now, I will say this isn't available for every single battery on the market. I'll just run you through the ones that they currently support. So if you have a Fogstar Energy battery, you'll be able to take part. A GivEnergy battery, which is the one I've got. SigEnergy, Solax and Solis. Those are the ones that they support at the moment. There is a link on their website. If you have a different battery, such as maybe a Tesla Powerwall battery, you can go on their link on their website and tell them what battery you've got so they can add it in the future. But as I said, if you've got any of those 5 batteries that I mentioned, you can sign up and you can take part straight away. So to be honest, if you've got one of those batteries, I would thoroughly recommend you do sign up because it is worthwhile. Now, as I said, I'm going to run you through what I have made in the first 5 weeks of being signed up to Solax Energy. As I said, I've done 4 sessions so far, but one I don't have results for, so I'll give you the results for the first 3. So the first session that I took part in as part of being with Solax Energy was on the 3rd of March. I signed up on the 27th of February. So there was about a week where nothing happened when I signed up. But the first event took place on the 3rd of March. And I sent 3.44 kilowatt hours to the grid in the hour that they asked me to. And that generated me £3.44. So I thought that was a pretty good start and I was very happy with that. Now, the second one didn't take place for another 2 weeks. So I had to wait quite a while for the next session. And the next one took place on the 17th of March. This one I made a little bit more. I made £3.78 for sending 3.78 kilowatt hours to the grid. So that was slightly better. The third one I took part in was on the 26th of March. So about another week or so later. And this one was even better because at the time they asked for the energy was a time where not only could I export my battery at full power, but but I was also still generating a good amount of energy from my solar panels in the daytime. So I managed to send extra energy. So on this particular session, and this one's been my best one so far, I made £4.78. So I managed to send an additional kilowatt hour compared to the previous session, 4.78 kilowatt hours in that session. And as I say, that's been my best one yet. Now, this to me, I think has been a fantastic addition to my kind of setup. Now, I didn't mention before, but obviously Accel Energy is something you have on the side of your normal energy provider. It does not take over, such as Optimisers Energy are my energy provider. Accel are not replacing them. It just works alongside them. But as I said, Octopus pay me 12 pence per kilowatt hour. I get that on top of the £1 per kilowatt hour that Accel are paying me. So in reality, I'm getting £1.12 per kilowatt hour when these sessions take place. Now, granted, they're not, overly frequent. They're around 4 sessions a month is kind of what I have been led to believe. And it's kind of what their website says as well. On average, around 4 sessions a month. But over that first month, just 3 sessions, I managed to total £12 of kind of revenue from these 3 sessions. And I think that is brilliant. I didn't really know what to expect going into it. So I thought, well, anything is better than nothing. But the £12 is in addition, as I said, to the normal export that I'm getting from Octopus. So that is on top of export I've made throughout the month. Now, when you factor in the Octopus export rate dropped from 15 pence down to 12 pence just over a month ago, then the £12 that I made by doing this is basically making up for that shortfall. Now, I haven't ran the specific numbers yet to see whether it would have, compared to like last year's figures and all that type of stuff. But I would imagine this has pretty much made up for that shortfall in 15p to 12p. So I'm really happy about that. That basically means I'm not really out of pocket from those Octopus changes. Now, going forward, I don't know how this really is going to work throughout the summer months, because obviously in the summer months we have a lot of renewable energy on the grid. A lot more sun means maybe there won't be as many Accel Energy sessions. I'm not quite sure. But then I guess there are other periods when the sun, isn't up, and there are miserable days throughout the year that I guess these sessions are going to be taking place on. So I definitely think it's worthwhile. If you've got one of those 5 batteries that I stated earlier, I think it's worthwhile you sign up to it. And as I mentioned before, if you use my link, you can get a £25 bonus. And also, which I find quite interesting, Accel state on their website, even if there aren't any sessions in a month, they guarantee that they will pay you a minimum of £10 every month. So even if there isn't a session, they'll still credit your account with £10 just for signing up and being available to GivEnergy whenever they want it. So I actually think that's really good. So basically, you're signing up to get a minimum of £10 a month, regardless of whether you take part in one of these events. So, that's £120 a year. If there's no events, you're still going to get paid just because. So personally, I think it's worthwhile signing up for. And from my own personal experience now, I can say that because I've took part in 4 events. I have had no issues whatsoever. Now, what I will say is I am part of a couple of different groups on Facebook and different things like that. And I have seen a couple of people say that when an event took place, their battery exported to the grid with absolutely no problems. However, once the session had finished, their battery didn't revert to the settings that it was previously set to before the event. And that is something Accel do state on their website. They do try their hardest to reset your inverter to the settings that it was on prior to them changing anything. However, of course, there can be mistakes or, that it doesn't quite work as planned. And sometimes you might have to manually go in after an event takes place just to reset your settings back to what you want them to be. Now, as I said, I've taken part in 4 sessions, and each time I've not had to manually change anything. I've got my own kind of schedule set up with my battery in terms of charging and discharging. When these events take place, those settings that I've put in change. They kind of all disappear back to like a default, and Accel input their own settings just for that hour. And then as soon as the hour's over, they all just revert back to what I put in for my own scheduled charging. Now, because I heard about those people saying that their settings hadn't gone back a couple of times, I do just go into the app, my GivEnergy app, and after the event's taken place, and just double check basically that my settings have gone back to normal. And as I said, over the 4 sessions I've taken part in, I personally have not had an issue with that. But it's worthwhile just keeping a note of that basically. If you do take part in a session, just jump into the app, whichever app that you use to manage your battery system, and just double check that all the settings have in fact gone back to how they should do. And if not, obviously you can quickly change them yourself back to how they should be. Right then guys, I'm going to leave it there. As I mentioned before, there is a link in the description box of the video. If you want to sign up to Axel and give it a try yourself, there's a £25 bonus for you waiting there. And they do pay that bonus immediately after signing up. So you can withdraw that straight to your bank account, and it is just a nice, easy £25. So I think it's worthwhile. Let me know down in the comments if you've used Axel before, and let me know, your experience. Have you been earning a similar amount to me? Have you had any issues using Axel? I would love to know, and I think my audience would also like to know. So let me know down in the comments below. And remember guys, if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and the subscribe button. It really does help my channel. Right, I'll leave it there guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.